Video. This is actually continuing from the last video where I was actually making the plaster and putting it in the molds. So now you can see I've moved on to the foot mold. And same as the hand, I want to tilt it as much as possible. I also want to tap it around on the table as much as I can to get any air bubbles out, and to concentrate on actually having it in the angle where the plaster is actually heading down towards the toes. If I was to lay this flat at this point, basically what would happen is the toes would be flat on top, because it's set in a way where the plaster's still very liquidy. So until the plaster's actually turned more into a solid, and you can see here I'm actually pointing saying it's coated everywhere, which is what you want. So yeah, pouring it back out, and then going to put it back in again. But yeah, so always tap it round, always make sure that you're getting down to the toes, always make sure that until it's set, have it at that angle where the plaster just all at the bottom, and you're not going to get any air bubbles, you're not going to get any flat feet or anything like that, flat toes even. But yeah, can you see I'm pouring it back in? So pouring it back in here, again, only half filling it, because at this point, if I was to fill it to the top and then try and have it at the angle I want to have it at, it will just come out completely. So I have to kind of half fill it, and that's the reason why. So half fill in there, and then use anything you can just to prop up the molds. So now I've gone back to the hand again. So I'm going back to the hand. You can probably see it's starting to go a little bit firmer at this point. So can you see, I'm just trying to see if you can actually, yeah, so can you see it's a little bit liquidy, but I feel like until I put way more in, I feel like it needs to set a little bit more. But at this point of making the plaster, I'm always picking it up, moving it, making sure that I'm hitting it as much as possible. Pretty here, as you can see, is stirring the plaster again, because as I said earlier, the plaster starts to stick to the bottom. So can you see here the consistency that this is the consistency I want it to be while I put the rest in, because it means now that when I start to fill it at the top and then have it at an angle, it's not all going to pour out. So it's getting to a point where it's starting to go a lot firmer. You can see there's little air bubbles forming on top, but then the more you hit it, the more the air bubbles come out. So I'm literally just going to tap that around as much as I can so I don't get any air bubbles. And then back to the foot again. So I want to check how the foot's doing. And the best thing to do is to literally just tap it backwards, forwards, left, right, as much as you can. Obviously, I would say air bubble wise for the feet is probably not as common as the hands, but you do still get the air bubbles. But as long as you do this, as long as you do these two things where basically, you know, you do it in stages, like if you were to pour in the plaster all in one go straight away, the chances of an air bubble happening are very, very high. So do it in stages. But can you see how thick that consistency is now? So that means that very soon I can put all of the plaster in, lay the cast down, and then there won't be any air bubbles. So I'm just going to continue tapping. So I would say generally I probably pour in plaster 2 or 3 times until it's complete. So can you see there it's gone much firmer. It's not moving around as much, and like I said, that means that soon I can put the rest of the plaster in without it pouring out. And this point here, obviously wear gloves. If you're doing plaster, wear gloves. For me, it's, you know, I've been doing this for 12 years, so I tend to scoop out as much as I can, but then I always wash my hands. Because if you leave it on your hands while the plaster starts to set, which is called curing, it can actually burn your hands a little bit. So ideally you don't want to use your hands, so don't copy me, wear gloves. But can you see how thick that is now? That's perfect consistency. So now, to me, one little hit, and then that's done. And that's just gonna leave that there to cure. So it takes about 30 minutes to cure. What will happen is once you've done the hand and the foot together, leave it to set, and then maybe feel it after 5-10 minutes when it's turning a little bit harder, and you'll feel the heat coming from that, and that basically is the curing process. So to know it's ready, if you haven't timed it and you want to know if it's ready or not, just feel it, and when it's come back cold again after about 30 minutes, and then it's ready to take out of the mold. But like I said, make sure, wear gloves just to be on the safe side. If you're not wearing gloves, always wash your hands. It's not A&E level, but it still burns. It's not nice. So here, I'm doing what I usually do, just scraping it all out. You could also use a spoon as well, but I've just always used my hands. So you can see here, absolutely no wastage whatsoever. And then now at this point, I've actually laid the mould down flat, because I know that where the toes are, it's solid. It's just the top bit that's a bit watery, but the bit by the toes is solid. So, being a perfectionist, I'm giving it one little tap again, because I was thinking, nope, I saw an air bubble. And there you are. There you have it. Look, no wastage. But what you need to do is wash that